Hello, welcome to the WGL APAC Season 2. It's a bit of a bittersweet moment now, Alex, I think, because today and tomorrow is our last week of the regular season here of Season 2. And, well, it's bitter because it is the last one, but it's sweet because it means we're a little bit closer to the finals, which I think is very, very exciting.
Exactly. It's also pretty sweet because I brought in a little bit of a cake today for all of the crew. Tres leches.
It was good.
Very sweet. Very sweet as well. Sweet but good. But yes, anyways, onto the tanks I think we should probably move.
Perhaps.
And we do have some interesting matchups this weekend. Like you said, it is our last weekend of the regular season, and this is the last chance for these teams to show us what they've got. You know, we're still obviously on the kind of mouse meta patch, if you will, so you know, definitely going to be expecting to see lots of mouses today. But one thing which I'm really looking forward to is in today's matches, we've got a few good ones, but then there is our first match.
Yeah.
Right, which is, it is the best match in WGL APAC this season. It has always been throughout this season, and I am really looking forward.
Yeah, well, before we discuss that, I kind of want to sort of have a look at the standings here because there are a lot of things that can actually change. Obviously, we know Wargaming team efficiency, they're locked in for the finals.
Yep.
They don't have to go through playoffs. Dark Horse and Coalition Zoo, we know both of them are out. They can't qualify for the playoffs. We know Wargaming is sitting in sixth place, sorry. But Horseman, Karen, Tiger, Meltdown, that's the real key to watch here
exactly,
this week.
Exactly. I mean, look, if Karen Tiger can get above the Horseman, then they're going to be playing Wargaming, I believe, in the playoffs.
Exactly.
So that's
even
really...
Meltdown can technically get above Horseman. They are actually versing Horseman later on tonight, and
there you go.
If they win against Horseman and Horseman doesn't get any points out of it, Meltdown just needs to win their one tomorrow and hope Horseman loses their one tomorrow. I mean, it's all a bit convoluted at this point, but it is interesting to see how close these three teams are and how this could change. I mean, at the moment it's Horseman in third, and I don't know, are we going to be fighting them in third at the end of tomorrow night? I guess we're going to have to find out.
Well, that is going to be really interesting, I think, to see whether we do, you know, still have the Horsemen in third there, whether Meltdown are able to take over, and who knows, maybe Wargaming.
Maybe even Karen Tiger can
take
over.
Exactly. Anyone could. But, of course, onto today's matches. Look, we've got some of those good ones later on, but the best one, we've got it first up.
Yes.
It is team efficiency.
It seems almost fitting to start off this week with team efficiency and Wargaming because it has been a few weeks since we've seen these two teams go up against each other. They've undoubtedly been the best two teams in the region so far this season. Both times they've faced each other, 5-4 the way of team efficiency. Wargaming definitely going to be looking to pull one back this week, but I think team efficiency, you know, they're going to be keen to sort of complete that hat trick. 3 out of 3 so far this season, or if they can get there, then that would be 3 out of 3. But not to mention just only that match, we do of course have Karen Tiger Coalition Zoo coming up after that one. Some points on the board there surely for Karen Tiger, going to be very, very helpful in their chase for that third position. Wargaming, Dark Wolves, obviously we know both those teams aren't going to be moving, but still they have to play that match out and try and get some wins on well, on the board against, I guess, what is considered one of the weaker opponents that they will be going up against for both 100%. Of them. And then Meltdown and Horseman, I sort of already touched on that one, but that one is such a crucial matchup for tonight. I think our first matchup and our last matchup of tonight are going to be really the two crackers of the night.
I'm looking forward to them, absolutely. And, you know, our first match tonight, Wargaming team efficiency, like you said, you know, we've seen them twice before Clash this season. Twice it's gone to team efficiency. And when you look at their roster, I mean, it's easy to see why
it's pretty stacked.
Yeah, it's pretty stacked. I mean, look, you've got Bohan, Mr. Heavy Tank, you've got JT, Mr. Damage Dealer, Skell, Mr. Drives Around quite a bit.
Wow. I wonder how he's going to feel about that.
He does. He's got a very high average distance traveled.
Although, admittedly, you'd have to probably talk about Safi if you're going to talk about Mr. Drives Around a lot. Though, from what I'm understanding, Safi's actually not going to be playing tonight. Bolognese stepping in because Safi's overseas on a work trip of some sort. So, some changes perhaps for team efficiency tonight. We'll see whether or not that's going to affect them. But we do know it's such a strong roster as a core. And as as Bolognese comes in, I mean, I don't think it's going to affect them all that much. But their opponents for tonight, we do know them all. Wargaming really cannot go past talking about the best teams in Asia without talking about Wargaming. And I mean, there's not too much to say that hasn't been said before about these guys. They are just the best team in the region. The only one that's been able to challenge them so far this season and last season is team efficiency, who they are going up against tonight. So definitely really looking forward to this matchup. And
Yeah.
if we want to see EL Gaming come out with a win tonight, if we expect to see that, it's going to be Fox TS. It's going to be Hardliner that we look to, because Fox TS, when he has a bad game, I feel as though EL Gaming have a bad game, and Hardliner, the top damage dealer in the league, and who can go past this matchup as well? JT versus Hardliner. It's number 2 damage dealer. JT's gotten his peg back a couple of rounds, a couple of good matches, and he's been able to come back up towards the top there for team efficiency. EL Gaming, obviously Hardliner, their top damage dealer, so it's really looking good for them.
Yeah, and JT here, you know, he might look a little bit more relaxed than Hardliner, but that's very different on the battlefield. And once we head onto the maps, so yeah, look, JT, very solid player on Team Efficiency's lineup. You know, we've seen him all around, just cracking on with the damage dealt this season, really being up there for TE. And Hardliner again. He's a bit more of a fast-paced player than JT. He's more likely to be in those medium tanks than JT is. And, you know, we can see that there. Most played tank, his is the Batchat. So,
yeah. Interesting, actually, that the average spotted is a little bit higher there for JT. I find that he's more in the heavy tanks as opposed to Hardliner, who is in the Batchat a lot more often than not. But anyway, obviously you can see them both very close, and I think the damage stat is the one that's really key there to have a look at. They were about 60 damage average per round apart from each other, which is really close. And as I mentioned before as well, number 1 in the league is Hardliner, number 2 is JT. So basically we've got the top 2 damage dealers in the league playing against each other tonight. We've got the top 2 teams in the league. I don't think there's much more that you could really ask for.
No, this is far and away going to be our, I really am hoping, our best match of the season tonight. You know, if Team Efficiency deliver just how they've delivered in the last 2 matches against EL Gaming, then we are going to have something special on our hands, particularly because we've seen Team Efficiency beat EL, right? But we've never seen Team Efficiency beat EL Gaming on this new mouse patch. Right, so much has changed, right, and it's still up in the air as to whether Team Efficiency are going to be quite as strong against EL Gaming with this new patch. You know, have EL fallen off a bit? Who knows?
We will find out, and what I find very interesting tonight as well is that the map pool is definitely nowhere near what I expected it to be, because the last 2 times they faced each other, I think the map pool was exactly the same. This time, things are looking a little bit different. Mines being banned away there by Team Efficiency. That makes sense. Excellent map for EL Gaming, and Steps every time for EL Gaming. But Cliff picked up, yep, I can understand that for Team Efficiency. Ghost Town would have been another good one for them to pick up there, but Muravanka coming out as the first pick from EL Gaming, that's not really something that we've been seeing from them so far throughout this season.
Yeah, we haven't seen much for Muravanka from them at all, so that is interesting. I mean, obviously they must feel quite confident
It's a good map for them.
It is a good map for them. They never lose on it. So, look, absolutely, it's not a bad pick, and I can sort of see why they did it. But Himmelsdorf vetoed out there by EL Gaming. That's a good move.
I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is.
Well,
they did struggle against Team Efficiency last time, but it's a very good map for them.
Yeah, but they also lost to TCZ on Himmelsdorf. So it's not that. So I honestly, but I honestly think that EL Gaming on the new patch on Himmelsdorf aren't good.
Okay. Well, I can probably buy that.
Ghost Town
though. Banned from Team Efficiency. Yeah.
That's strange. That's a bit
strange
because Team Efficiency are a lot better on Ghost Town than EL Gaming. They've 2-0'd them, I think, before on Ghost Town. So that is strange from Team Efficiency. And instead, they're going to be going with a Ruinberg pick there, which...
Well, Prokhorovka gets picked by EL Gaming, which means Ruinberg is the remaining map. So not technically the pick from Team Efficiency, but it is counted as their pick. Prokhorovka, though, by EL Gaming being picked, I mean... I feel as though both the teams tonight have picked maps which they're not necessarily 100% comfortable on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe that's because they just want to practice them going into the finals. Obviously, they know they've both qualified through to the finals. They're not going to be too pressured by tonight. But I would have thought, particularly for Team Efficiency and EL Gaming, that they would have both wanted to actually win this matchup, because the pride of being able to, for Team Efficiency, be able to 3-0 EL Gaming in a season and say that is going to be massive.
Well, just imagine
that. But for EL Gaming to be able to say, well, at least, you know, we didn't get 3-0'd, I think is going to be a big deal as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just imagine that. If Team Efficiency could come out of this one with, you know, another win and having 3-0'd EL Gaming, imagine how confident they're going to be at the finals, you know? So it's definitely something that both teams are going to be wanting to win. But looking at that map pool, I mean... It's tricky because you think Cliff, I really think Cliff could actually go either way. Like EO Gaming, I want to say probably will be getting one on Cliff because they just often
I think it's a 1-1, realistically, on Cliff. The defensive side, both these teams have shown a very, very strong aptitude to play Cliff on the defensive side. On the attacking side, it hasn't been so comfortable for team efficiency. A little bit better for EL Gaming on the attack, but overall, I think both these teams heavily favoring the defensive side, so I would not be surprised to see 1-1 on the defensive side for Cliff. Muravanka, it's hard to say. I think team efficiency, that's the one that they're most susceptible on, because one, EL Gaming is so good at Muravanka. We've seen them a lot of the time just destroying teams on Muravanka. Now, the reason I said it was interesting that they pick it is because they haven't been picking it so much this season. They haven't been playing it too much, but what we have seen from them has looked really good. And from team efficiency on Muravanka, it's kind of been so-so, at least in my eyes. So for me, that one, it could be a 1-1, but I think if there's going to be a 2-0 in the way of EL, it's probably going to be coming out on Muravanka. Then Prokhorovka comes out, again, probably a 1-1, maybe a 2-0 for team efficiency. I might slightly favour them on that map, but Ruinberg, again, as the final map in the pool, that's the one that we actually saw team efficiency getting 2-0'd on by EL Gaming. We saw EL Gaming 2-0 Karen Tiger on that last week, which is Karen Tiger's best map as well. And I feel as though Ruinberg is going to be a real trouble point, really, for team efficiency.
I think EL Gaming, they've really stepped up their Ruinberg play ever since kind of coming into this new mouse patch, because if we remember before, I think it was before when they lost to the Dark Wolves on Ruinberg. So, you know, they have faltered a little bit on it, but looking a lot stronger now. And, I mean, just looking at those map picks, I originally had predicted this one as a team efficiency win, 5-4.
So did I. I finally did it, right? I did EL Gaming, both times they played each other in the first 2 times. This time I've gone team efficiency because of obviously the history between the 2 teams. And I think team efficiency is going to want this more.
Yeah, well, I think so as well. But just looking at those maps, it's not going to be easy for team efficiency. I think, you know, realistically, I'm almost erring now on the side of EL Gaming in a 5-4 tiebreaker or something. Maybe even 5-3, which is what Max has picked.
Exactly, I was going to mention that. Max has gone 5-3 for EL Gaming, and I'm actually thinking that that's probably what the scoreline is going to be after I've seen the maps here. So 1-1 Cliff, 2-0 for EL Muravanka, Prokhorovka 1-1, Ruinberg to close it out there for EL Gaming. So that's where I think things are going to be going here, but who knows? I mean, I've kind of doubted team efficiency in the past when they went up against EL Gaming, and they've always been able to find something to pull them through, and maybe that's going to be again the case tonight.
Maybe. I'm certainly hoping it will be, but well, as well as that, we've got to take a little think about what tanks we're going to be having here in Cliff, our first map of the night.
Maybe some bat chats.
Thinking some bat chats. I mean, we saw it last week.
Cross our fingers for no mouse.
And there was no mouses in a couple of games on Cliff last week. You know, it was just your standard old bat chat, T49. EL Gaming probably going to pick that T54 lightweight. Very good counter to the T49 light tank. It does have that little bit of extra armor. Apart from that, it's going to be pretty standard stuff.
All right, here we go. We don't have a mouse, so I'm very, very happy with how things have turned out, at least on our first round of Cliff.
Yep, and there we go. No surprises. EL Gaming do end up going with that T54 lightweight. But I feel as though it's going to be slightly less effective because Team Efficiency have not locked in that T49. Instead, Team Efficiency going to be going with those 2 bat chat APs, which I don't mind. I think that's a valid pick.
Now, the T54 lightweight, yes, it is going to be a little less effective given the fact that Team Efficiency here probably, obviously, don't have a T49. But, I mean, a Banchat AP, it doesn't necessarily have trouble with the T54 lightweight, but you can expect to maybe bounce 1 or 2 shells off a T54 lightweight, especially if you're shooting it frontally. If you just don't get the aim right and it pings off into the turret, something like that, then definitely you could see some shells bouncing here. So having a look at the roster here for Team Efficiency, we do have Bolognese in tonight. As I mentioned, Safi may or may not be playing. If he has to jump in, he'll jump in. I think he's still available to play, but Bolognese is going to be starting because of those issues that Team Efficiency are going to be going through right now with Safi overseas. Anyway, EL Gaming, who have they got? Kongbai's in. Okay, so no Guan Ran again. And no even fall. So it's Kongbai here for EL Gaming. And, well, that's a good start, actually, already for EL Gaming. Look at this. I have no idea what Team Efficiency is doing, and I don't think they do either, because Skell and Bolognese are nowhere near this fight at all. Bohan's already dead, basically. Moore's already dead, basically. They do get a 1-for-1 at least. Black does go down. JT's actually taking principal, and I don't even know where all those kills just came from for Team Efficiency, because that looked like they were just getting absolutely wrecked, and then all of a sudden...
They've just turned it around.
They've just destroyed EL Gaming, so... welcome to week 9.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what's happening. Bolognese is still upright here. And look, he's getting some shots on towards Fox TS. And now there's only 2 EL Gaming members left. Fox TS, his ammo racks damage. He's not going to be too effective in the TVP right there. So look at that. Party, with one more shot, should be able to take him out. Although Fox TS, oh, there we go. He's actually sprung right back up on him.
Yeah, but Party, he's going to be off the reload first because Fox TS is just clipped out. So basically, Fox TS is a free kill. I mean, Party essentially could have just rammed him. In the end, Bohan gets the kill, and Kongbai is the only one left alive here for EL Gaming. And I honestly, I didn't see at all what happened to those EL Gaming players early on in the match. I completely missed 3 players going down. I don't know if we just didn't see it or if I was not paying enough attention or something.
But you know, I actually think what it might have been was it might have even been EL Gaming running out of clips and the team efficiency guys coming in a little bit late. Maybe EL Gaming didn't hit all of their shots, and that's meant that those TE guys that came in later with full clips were able to just get every single shot out, put every single piece of damage that they could on towards EL, and that's going to be a lot of damage.
I've just been told someone got ammo racked for 1600 HP. So that might have been part of the issue there for EL Gaming. I didn't see it.
That'll do it.
But that'll do it. Oh, wow. What a start, though. I mean, Team Efficiency just coming out of the gates and absolutely wrecking EL Gaming, putting them under pressure so early on. And that aggression, like, it caught me off guard because I was sort of just getting ready to slowly ramp up into that game. I thought Team Efficiency were going to play a little bit slower on the attacking side. And then all of a sudden, I see Bohan in there and I see more in there, both of them on a 1-shot worth of HP. And I was like, oh, this is over. And then I look over on the EL Gaming side of the scoreboard of the HUD, and there's 3 tanks dead. I don't know what I honestly just missed it.
Yeah, that was.
I really have to go back. I really
Exactly.
just have to go back and watch that because I have no idea what went on. Honest to God.
What a great way to start us off, though. What, like, we couldn't even follow it. And
Bohan was the one that got the ammo rack, apparently.
There you go.
So I suspect we'll see Bohan up towards the top of the scoreboard there because he as well managed to survive through pretty much that entire game. He obviously got that 1600 damage shot off with the ammo rack, and then he would have got the rest of his clip off, and I think he started getting a second clip off, maybe even a third clip off in that time as well. So, well, let's have a look and see how things turned out there for Team Efficiency. And, oh, Granovski's up the top. Bohan as well up towards the top there as well. So really, really good stuff there from Team Efficiency. Granovski, again, stepping up. And he's a player that we do talk about every now and then. He's sort of like the second top damage dealer for Team Efficiency.
Yep.
Just trailing behind JT. In fact, he took that position away from him, the first position away from him last week. It's come back in the way of JT this week. But maybe Granovski is having another crack at it because he's definitely put up some good numbers in that game.
Yeah, very solid effort there from Granovski. And, you know, Fox TS, he did give it a good try in the TVP. He's got a few clips off there, but unfortunately just not enough for EL Gaming. Good to know that they can always rely on him, though. But, yeah, that T54 lightweight of Nice didn't have much of an impact. And, yes, it is a Tier 8, but on Cliff against Bad Chats, you do still want your Tier 8 to do a little something. He's only managed to get 2 shots off there. Bolognese, Bad Chat AP, 1000 damage scale, and his Bad Chat AP, 1200. I mean, not really something you can complain about, but yeah, all of those EL Gaming guys down the bottom there really struggling, obviously, because they just got ammo racked, just downed instantly by Team Efficiency. I mean, they did get Team Efficiency. They did get some really good early picks.
Yeah.
You know, they went in there. They did get that first member down nice and quick. But yeah, you're right. I thought it was just turning all the way into EL Gaming's favour, but obviously not.
Apparently not, and EL Gaming was on the defense there as well, so that's really, really boding well for Team Efficiency because they only had a 20% win rate on the attack coming into this game on Cliff, and they were able to pick that up, basically. So now they're moving over to their more favored side. I think they're on an 80% win rate on the defensive side of Cliff, which is excellent. Obviously, it's not one of their most played maps, but they still have fairly decent results on it over like the 5 or 6 times that they've played it. So I'm really thinking that this is a good sign for Team Efficiency. They could 2-0 this now.
I think Team Efficiency on the defense. I think generally the defense on Cliff is just a little bit easier to play for our teams. And, you know, most teams, when you look at it, EL Gaming have a better win rate on the Cliff defense. Obviously, Team Efficiency do. You know, Karen Tiger do. The Coalition Zoo do. Every team just about in our league has a better win rate on the defensive side of Cliff, just because it is that little bit easier to play. So, TE coming into this, if they can replicate that just on the defensive side, then they're looking pretty sweet. They are going to be going with a T49 this time, though. So, you know, something to kind of think about. And hopefully that T49 from Team Efficiency will be able to get some good shots in towards EL Gaming. So we've seen it a few times where Wargaming's T54 lightweight has just shut down the T49 on the enemy team.
Yep. But basically nothing really to talk about here. It's just the bat chats like we would have expected. The T54 lightweight from Wargaming. It's what they always take. TVP for team efficiency. I like that. I wonder who's going to be in it. Probably Bolognese or Party, I would think. Yeah, it's Party.
Party, yep.
All right. So we've actually got Safi back in on his bat chat. So that's interesting.
All right, there you go. Interesting as well that the guys from Wargaming are not taking a TVP. That would normally be Fox in that one, but he's just decided to go for a bat chat instead. And team efficiency going to be heading out to fairly standard defensive positions. Wargaming aren't rushing. They're taking it a little bit slower. We've got nice setup down there in H1 just to scout out for any pushes down that 1-2 line. Skells set up in a fairly similar spot, but just on team efficiency side. So anyone that wants to push down that 1-2 line will get a big T49 shell into the side of them. But overall, I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower start to this one. As Wargaming maybe curving around towards a 2 flag.
Yeah, that's not something that we see all the time. Team efficiency definitely haven't set up to defend that 2 flag at all. Obviously now they're going to be aware that EL is going to be on that flag, but they are going to have to rotate across because you can see the majority of their members are actually on that sort of 2 and 3 line. Skell, Safi, JT, Bohan. The party even is sort of down on the 4 line right now, and there's 30 seconds left. Wargaming already on the cap. Yes, team efficiency should get some pretty easy resets here, courtesy of Moore up on the hill. He's controlled that well, but this is really going to put some pressure on team efficiency. They're going to need to adapt to this very, very quickly, and that's when mistakes start to creep into the gameplay.
Yep, exactly. Here we go, 15 seconds left. Team efficiency need to get the reset here. That TVP and Party needs to get down there, but there we go. Moore gets a very easy reset, and now Party's just going to lay into Hardliner. Great play there from team efficiency, and suddenly Hardliner, his ammo rack's damaged. He's on 400 HP, and EOL's push hasn't worked.
No, not at all. And team efficiency, they've barely even needed to really respond to this. Like, they got a bit of damage off, and Wargaming's just gone scurrying away. They haven't even taken the fight here. So Wargaming, they are again in with a bit of a deficit at the start of this round, and they need to find a way to claw it back. At least this time, though, they haven't lost 3 tanks, and they can definitely make use of the tanks that they still have alive here, which is everyone. But it's not a great start to this matchup here for EL.
It's not ideal at all, but this is where maybe Wargaming can get a bit of an advantage, is if Nice pushes towards Skell and tries to one-on-one Skell, then he will have a pretty easy time of that in the T54 lightweight. JT, well, he's kind of near, but probably not near enough to help. Looks like Principal might be rotating back behind as well to maybe help out Nice with that one. Although what Wargaming don't see is Safi and Bohan. They're also in very close positions on the other side of the map there to help out Skell if he gets pushed. But yeah, right now it's not easy for Wargaming. They do have that HP deficit, do have Hardliner who's so close to death. They need to really make sure that Hardliner stays right at the back, you know, doesn't take any shots and only enters the fight maybe 10 seconds later.
There's nothing really that Wargaming can actually do here. They need to send someone forward to get those spots, and for poor old Nice, that's basically his job, being in that tier 8 tank. He runs into Skell, who does a big amount of damage to him. Now he runs into a crossfire. He's dead. Bohan's got some good shots onto a few of these other tanks, and I mean, in reality, like, I just don't see how Wargaming can come back into this one. Now JT's going to go on Principal. He knows that he's got the advantage. He had the HP advantage. I assume JT would have had enough shells in the clip here to actually clip out Principal. All he needs is one more, and it looks like he's got that.
Yep,
so
there we go.
There you go. Team efficiency, find another favorable trade. Admittedly, it's not perfect. They do lose Bohan and more, but overall, it's good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Black, his ammo rack's damaged now. Hardliner is still 1, maybe 2 shots away from death, and team efficiency, if they can keep this up, then, well, they may be the ones to 2-0 Cliff here. It's quiet now, getting pushed by Granovsky.
Granovsky, he's sort of like the king of the mountain here, really, on Cliff, isn't he? We've seen so many good plays from him up on Cliff, up on that lighthouse, that you have to really think that if anyone tries to challenge him up here from Wargaming, they're going to be in for a rough time.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Granovsky is not the man you want to be messing with up there on the lighthouse, and maybe a smart move, kind of heading down there after he fired a shot or 2. Maybe getting the reload happening, but we see Quiet there in the bat chat, 25T, just pushing around the mountain and seeing what he can see. It's going to be not too much. He does a nice little reverse climb there, though. going to be able to get him up.
Yeah, but he can't challenge this cliff at all. Like, Safi's up there with more HP than him, and Granovski's there also to back Safi up. So even if Quiet does manage to get up towards the top of that cliff, I don't think he's going to be able to achieve all that much. There's just so many crossfires set up here for team efficiency. And Skell, has he spotted Quiet out?
Yes, I think so. I think so. Skell just waiting, biding his time, not going to be shooting just yet. And that is a very hard shot to make. Let's not forget that the T-49's gun, as well as being deadly inaccurate, as we just saw there, does have slower travel time on the shell than your standard,
it's close.
Standard AP shell. Yeah, that's a little bit closer than I'd maybe even thought, but Quiet manages to dodge it. And EL Gaming again reset. The good news for EL is that team efficiency, they don't actually have that much kind of raw HP left on the field either. They've only got 4,500, and EL Gaming, they could still clip that out with all of their bat chats.
For sure.
If they executed it properly. JT's only one shot, and that'll turn it into a 4v4. Skell's on the field. Skell's only going to be able to contribute one shot in a all-out battle, maybe two if he doesn't go
down. If he gets a shot off, that's going to kill Hardliner or Black for sure. Could potentially even kill Quiet. Fox TS might just survive if he does get penned, but like, it's basically an incredibly difficult situation here for EL Gaming. Really, like they have to pull something out of the hat here.
Yeah, well, they do. Right now, team efficiency still pretty content just to wait because they are on the defensive side. There's 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. All that T has to do is just wear down this timer. And, will actually be Safi taking a shot, ricocheting the second one, though.
Batchat has good armor, guys.
Oh, yeah.
That was a 1-for-1, wasn't it? So if it was a 1-for-1, if Safi got a shot off there, which I'm pretty sure he did, then yeah, he did. He got a bit of damage into Quiet. Then overall, that's a fairly favourable trade for team efficiency because they naturally have the more or the higher HP pool right now. And going 1-for-1, if they continue to go 1-for-1 for the rest of this map, they win. The only way they lose is if they start bleeding free damage.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like what they just did.
Granovski's just taking a shot there, which is not ideal. But yeah, if you team efficiency, you don't even need to push this. The safest thing to do is just sit behind your little lighthouse, let EL Gaming come to you. But in saying that, maybe they've kind of baited EL into thinking that they were going to push. And it's going to mean EL leaving their own push till quite late here. 2 minutes and 25 seconds left, of course. EL are all in bat chat, so it's not going to take them that long to kind of get into position.
Well, not too long and 2 minutes left. I'm not sure are going to be necessarily too friendly for each other because EL Gaming, they can't afford not too long. They can only afford now. They basically need to go. They don't have the time to work with. They can't set up or anything like that. And I think they've probably just left this one a little bit too late. Fox TS and Quiet taking control of that three-liner. Hardliner. He just took down JT. Okay. Now he may have a game on our hands, but only 2 minutes left here. Safi can potentially trade out Hardliner. And if he does, that's basically going to be game over, I feel, for EL Gaming. If he doesn't, well, we've still got a bit to play for, but 1 minute and 40, you have to be favouring team efficiency in this situation. Yeah. Considering the map control as well, that team efficiency have got the control of that lighthouse, EL Gaming is going to take them so long to actually get up there and kill those two guys. I just don't think that they've got the time here.
Yeah, they don't. No way. 1 minute and 30 seconds left. They can't make a single wrong move because otherwise Black goes down, then Hardliner goes down, then Quiet goes down. They do actually manage to take down the Skell, though. That is the T-49, so probably the least important tank on the team efficiency lineup. But, I mean, that's exactly what they need to do, take down tanks without taking damage. It is now starting to get a little bit sort of precarious in terms of the time left. Only 1 minute left now for EL Gaming, and oh,
that's a big miss from Safi. If he had been able to hit that one, then might have been the nail in the coffin, but it's still not over really here for team efficiency. They should still be able to win this, and the only way that they do lose it is if EL Gaming just goes ham right now, and I just think that it's probably too little too late for EL Gaming. Fox TS, he's trying to get some damage across. Safi, he had one shell left in the clip there, could have probably taken down Fox TS, but decides he wants to play the safer game, and that's fair enough. Party at this point, I'm fairly certain, is completely unspotted as well, so it's just GG. Like, EL Gaming can't kill these three tanks in 30 seconds.
That's pretty much it, unless they play it perfectly from now on, because Black is coming up and Safi, and maybe if Safi potatoes it, but yeah, Party's got 1,000 HP.
They're not even going to climb the hill. So Hardliner's the only one going up, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit of a anti-climb. Oh, no, actually, Fox, yes.
All Party needs to do now is just go down into the flag, and he's going to survive. No one can kill him. Anyway, Staffy takes down Hardliner. EO Gaming, no time. That's game over. Team Efficiency just win the second round. So, bit of an anticlimax towards the end there.
Yeah, a little bit.
But really, really good news for Team Efficiency to start off 2-0 there on Cliff.
I'm feeling a lot better about my prediction now, Jordan.
A little bit.
Because the thing is, they're playing quite well.
They are.
Team Efficiency right there, that was solid Cliff play.
Yep.
And that's what they need to beat EO Gaming. They can't be on one of their off days. And, I mean, I think EO Gaming did make a few of those mistakes earlier on in that one. Just a few unfavourable trades going in their way. Obviously, as soon as they lost that initial 2-flag push, that was spotted out by Team Efficiency. Moore got the great reset down on towards that. Party helped out with the TVP. He put lots of shots into Hardliner, you know, and then EL Gaming retreated. They tried another push with their T54 Lightweight, who just got exploded for free. So really, it was all downhill from that initial push from EL Gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And 2-0 there for Team Efficiency, not to mention the speed in which they took that first win, which was their attacking side win. If we do find ourselves making our way through to the tiebreaker, that's probably going to be the fastest round of the series, which would mean they, in theory, get to choose the side, unless EL Gaming does something crazy here and wins even faster than that. But I think that's highly unlikely, given this meta that we've got coming out. You know, a super fast win, perhaps maybe on Muravanka if they all sit on that one flag and Team Efficiency just potatoes it, something like that. But Prokhorovka, you're not going to see a fast win like that. Rurenberg, you're not going to see a fast win like that. So I think Team Efficiency, if they do get through to the tiebreaker, have secured themselves the map choice, or the side choice, sorry. But that's a story for, I guess, later on tonight, if we do get there. Having a look at the post-battle stats for this one. Again, it's a lot of those Team Efficiency players up towards the top. And EL Gaming, some of their players missing. Where's Hardliner? Down in number 7, 1500. Not really much.
Where's he?
Exactly. Where's Fox DS?
He is always the one up the top for EL Gaming, I think. And in my eyes, I actually think it's a bit of a mistake not to pop Fox TS into a TVP this time. He is so good in that TVP. He's such a menace in it. You know, I was watching him stream yesterday in that TVP, and just some of the things he can do on any map is just crazy. So maybe a bit of a missed opportunity there. He does end up getting 8th place, so not the worst. 1578 damage, but you know, need a little bit more than that to win. And Kong by there in the bad chat, 0 damage. What's going on there?
He got eliminated without doing anything. So did Nice, essentially. It was like a 5 versus 7 almost.
Yeah. Well, it was, basically. Nice only getting that one shot off. He did get the scouts, of course, which, I mean, I think Team Efficiency read that like too well as well, because that's what EL Gaming always do. They will always, if that initial push doesn't work out, or even if sometimes it does on Cliff, they always use that T54 lightweight to try and push in and get a free kill on the T49, wherever the T49 normally is. And that's exactly what they did that time. They tried to push in with that T54 lightweight, but this time, Team Efficiency were ready for them. They had that crossfire set up with one bad chat up there, one bad chat up there, the T49 down here, and that was just 3 ways of pain for EL Gaming.
Yeah, definitely, and I don't know whether or not this is going to get it easier for Team Efficiency, because Muravanka, it's a map that we haven't necessarily felt as though Team Efficiency was excellent on. I definitely think they're weaker than they are on Cliff on Muravanka. So it's, you know, like I said, I don't think it's going to be getting any easier here for them. And I definitely think EL Gaming, this is where they need to strike back with a 2-0 and really start to just pull the pressure back and give 100%. Themselves a little bit more room to move. If they allow this to go to 3-1, Team Efficiency on Prokhorovka, I can definitely see them getting a 1-1, maybe a 2-0. And Rurenberg, even though I favour EL Gaming on that one, it's definitely a 1-1 map in general. So I honestly think that Team Efficiency, if they can get 1 round out of Muravanka here, they probably can close this out.
Maybe not even a tiebreaker as well.
Maybe not.
If we get that far. So, look, I'm definitely hoping that they can. You know, rooting for the boys, of course. I know that you know, we're not really meant to have caster bias here, but we've got to go for the boys from Team Efficiency. I think so. Even though EL Gaming did give us some fantastic jackets at last year's finals. You'll have to bring them over some. Oh, wait a sec.
We're not going. But that's all right. Maybe they'll make it to the grand finals. Maybe we'll make it to the grand finals. We'll cross our fingers. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. but for now, focusing in on this one. Muravanka.
Yes, Muravanka.
Can Team Efficiency get one round here?
Look, Muravanka, it's tricky. I think if we actually look at the positives here for Team Efficiency on Mura, is that their losses came quite early on in this season. I don't think they've actually lost it too recently.
That's true. That's true.
So, you know, they might have learnt a little bit more how to play it. It is in the pool early on, so they are obviously feeling not too bad about it. I think we could see a 1-1 here. You know, Team Efficiency, they are good at these sorts of kind of split maps where you get some heavies and some lighter tanks like the Bat Chats. So, yeah, I'm gunning for them. It'll be interesting to see the tank picks because we've seen Mura change so much, you know, with the Mouses and, you know, do you still pick Kranwagens? Looks like no is the answer to that last question, but we are going to be seeing a Mouse from Team Efficiency, two Moiser from EL Gaming.
STB as well from Team Efficiency makes a lot of sense on the defensive side. They've got a 1390. Scale's just going to be planted in one of those bushes over towards the 2 flag, one would expect. WZ 132 even from EL Gaming is not what you see every day, particularly on Muravanka. What you do see it on every now and then is Ruhlberg.
Yeah, we interesting. I mean, it doesn't have the greatest win rate, the WZ 132, but I guess EL Gaming, they must just like to pick it. So, rolling out, we can see that Team Efficiency setting up quite defensively. Skell's actually going quite far forward in that AMX 1390, not just sitting in a bush. So maybe Team Efficiency have some sort of an idea here as to what they want to do.
Yeah. Well, Granovsky and Moore as well are sort of posturing around that side of the map. I do like where Nice is set up here for EL Gaming. That's going to deny, or not necessarily deny, but at least EL Gaming is going to be able to spot those players that are going to come in to get the reset from the town. So this is a good setup from EL Gaming. Team Efficiency, their initial setup isn't too great to actually be able to react to this. It's going to take them a little while to get into positions here. So this is going to come down to not hugely close on the reset, but it is going to be a little bit close here for Team Efficiency. If they miss some shots, something like that, that's going to cause some problems, but they don't miss any shots. They're quiet, just gets absolutely wrecked. And Nice, he had to fall back because Skell was just pushing him, and you can't 1v1 a 1390 in a WZ 132. It just doesn't work because the 1390's got an autoloader. He's just going to clip you out and win the trade, essentially. So overall, another really, really nice play there from Team Efficiency here on the defensive side of Muravanka.
Yeah, great stuff there from Skell, hitting quite a few of those shots, missing a couple as well, but it's looking like Team EL Gaming going to be able to get themselves right back on towards that 1 flag. I'm just not convinced with this from EL Gaming. I mean, look at that. JT's just taken down quiet, and EL are just sitting ducks here. You cannot try and do this sort of a 1 flag cap when the enemy controls the Magic Forest, and that's what Team Efficiency are controlling right now. They've got Party and Granovsky in there. EL Gaming, they need to change it up fast.
Yeah, but I think it's too late, really. They've already lost Quiet. They lost their Tier 10 Bat Chat for essentially not getting all that much done. They've done a little bit of damage over to JT, which is basically irrelevant because he's in a mouse. Bohan in STB1 now is starting to take some damage, and he probably will actually go down, which is going to be at least a nice little bit of a trade back here for EL Gaming. And it does look like the swing of damage is actually going the way of EL, so Team Efficiency somehow have actually managed to let this one falter a little bit. I think Party's getting too sort of caught up with Nice over there on the other side of the map. He needs to be in this fight.
Yeah, look, they're spending 2 tanks onto Nice. That is not what Team Efficiency need to do to win. They do finally take it down, but at the end of the day, that's a WZ132. It doesn't really matter. In principle, look at that. His ammo racks damage, but he lives on 25 HP. That's another tank that EL Gaming have just taken down. And Team Efficiency now have the tank disadvantage. Their mouse is down. They've got, look, only 3 tanks left. One of them's an AMX 1390. Surely that's it from TE.
Yeah, it should be. It really should be. EL Gaming have a massive advantage here. Not just the HP because they've got the double mouse, but they have a 2-tank advantage. Admittedly, Principal is a 1-shot with a damaged ammo rack. So he's maybe not going to have the biggest of impacts, but if he can get even 1 or 2 shots more out here, that's going to be so hugely impactful for EL Gaming. And I just don't know how Team Efficiency really managed to let that one slip because it was looking so good for them, and then all of a sudden EL Gaming, they just take down like 2 or 3 tanks straight off the bat and bam, game over.
Yeah, pretty much bam, game over. I mean, that says it better than anything I could say. Like, T really just got caught up a little bit too much in that WZ132 as well. He did not need to focus that down with 2 tanks when the rest of their lineup was trying to actually guard the 1 flag and have a brawl with 2 EL Gaming Mousers. That's why it's so dangerous to, you know, to play against these Mousers and all of these bad chats. A very deadly lineup from EL Gaming. And it's looking like they're just going to sit themselves on the flag. Great move from them. Now Team Efficiency has to come in to get the resets. It's not going to be that easy for them.
In a position to get the resets? The first one to get there is going to be Party, and he's maybe not even going to get there because, well, if he had been tracked by Black, that would have been bad. But can he even pen the side of a mouse? Probably not at this angle, and he's not even going to be able to try. So we do see EL Gaming picking up the first round of Muravanka. Also back to 2-1, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the round that Team Efficiency needed to win because they started it off well, they were in a position to win it, and it was the defensive side, which is probably going to be a little bit more favourable for them here on Muravanka. Yeah,
that wasn't great there from Team Efficiency. I think after that initial burst, like EL Gaming, yes, they did take a lot of damage early on, but then Team Efficiency just, I don't know, they just didn't get any damage out seemingly after that initial little flurry. So it'll be interesting to see on the replays why that was. You know, was it because those two tanks were over on the WZ132? You know, how much damage did Team Efficiency's mouse get out? Because it looked like he really got bursted down very fast by EL Gaming, which, I mean, doesn't sound like it's possible in a mouse, but of course EL Gaming, whenever they, you know, set their laser sights on you, you're going down pretty fast no matter what tank you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, yeah, we can talk about the mouse, how hardy and how bouncy it is. But at the end of the day, when you've got 2 or 3 bat chats all with heat clips loaded shooting at you, you're going to die anyway, right? You're going to go down fast as well because they're auto loaders, and obviously everyone knows the power of a bat chat. So if the mouse gets caught off guard by a few bat chats, then it's game over. There's nothing you can do.
Yep, well, I think that may very well have been what happened there for Team Efficiency's mouse, and they only went with 1 as well. I really don't think that the STB had much of an impact. I'll be interested to see again the STB on the damage charts to see whether it was up there, but it seemed like he just got rushed by the bat chats. Team Efficiency didn't have enough tanks to defend him, and that was it, so...
Yeah, JT only... Well, look at that. Like, barely anyone on Team Efficiency actually did any damage.
Yeah.
Like 1,200 from your top damage dealer?
That's not great compared to 4K.
Where's the damage?
That's 4K is what Team Efficiency needed to be dealing, because EL Gaming, they had a higher HP pool as well, so more damage to farm. But when your AMX 1390 is in the top 7, that is quite worrying if you're Team Efficiency.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, Skell did get some nice shots off, but they should have just let Skell deal with the WZ132 and the other bat chat should have come back. I mean, yeah, the STB, Bohan, 7 shots fired, 2 of them hit. It's not great. Party, 12 shots fired, only a couple of them hit.
Well, Safi didn't get much done there either in his bat chat, so it's just a very, very woeful scorecard for Team Efficiency, and it just goes to show how much EL Gaming won that one by.
Yep, exactly. So, very convincing win there from EL Gaming, and look, like you said, they did need it. It was 2-0 before this, now it's 2-1. And I think on this second half of Muravanka, oh no, it's going to be hard for Team Efficiency to pull back. Now that they're on the attacking half as well, it's their less favoured half on Muravanka. EL Gaming have never lost it either.
No, well, EL Gaming have never lost on Muravanka in general, but I feel as though Team Efficiency, they really, really could have and should have won that one from the advantage that they had, and I just don't feel like EL Gaming is going to let them have that again, you know? Like, if Team Efficiency could have gotten off to a 3-0 lead here, kept that momentum flowing, really crushed EL Gaming into the ground, then they had a really good chance of being able to just smash them. But now that they've sort of let EL Gaming get that little bit of a peek into how they can get back into this series, and admittedly, it's not anywhere near over, but now that EL Gaming have felt that win, I think it's going to be 10 times more difficult for Team Efficiency.
Yeah, they've got that taste of victory.
Exactly.
So, yeah, well, I'm hoping still that Team Efficiency can stay in here and at least go 1-1 on Muravanka, because I feel that's what they need to set themselves up really well. I mean, it's still possible, of course, on the attack. You know, Team Efficiency have won it before.
Definitely.
But obviously not quite as experienced as EL Gaming on this one, so... I don't know. Anyways, guys, let us know what you think is going to be happening on this next half here on Muravanka with the hashtag WGL APAC. And make sure you are at WGL APAC. Tag us as well, because, of course, well, we have got some celebrities ready for later tonight and in our celebrity tag request. But for now, Jordan, I think it's time we head back to Muravanka for the next half.
Alrighty, so 113 and a mouse for team efficiency. Probably be Bohan in the mouse, JT in the 113, or maybe the other way around. Depends. Anyway, EL Gaming have gone for an STB and a mouse and a 1390 and bat chat, so nothing too surprising. I think the exact same lineup that Team Efficiency might have had a TVP in there as well. But regardless, very, very similar to the defensive side of Team Efficiency. It is JT actually in the mouse, Bohan in the 113. 113 is Bohan's most played tank this season.
I would generally kind of talk a little bit negatively about that 113 pick here, but it is Bohan in it. And if there's one player in the WGL that you want the 113, it is always going to be Bohan. So Team Efficiency almost looks like they're kind of going a little bit what EL did last
this is
game.
bad. This is so bad. Team Efficiency, they've not got the tanks here, and EL Gaming have just caught them off guard. More able to take down Hardliner before he goes down, but there's no way that Team Efficiency wins this trade because that 1390, the extra little bit of damage that EL Gaming had in that fight is going to be enough for them to actually win the trade. 2 for 3 overall, and it was 2 bat chats going down for 3 bat chats. EL Gaming have come out of that one in spades.
Yep, there we go. Great stuff there from EL Gaming, and Team Efficiency licking their wounds, but heading back towards the battle.
It's not over just yet, though, right?
No, it's not. It's not. Look, they do still have quite a bit of HP left on the field. They really need to, try and use that to their advantage. Of course, EL Gaming's mouse, I don't think Kong Bai's had too much of an impact in this one either, but Bohan, he can't just go.
You can't take a trade like that at this point, and the STB is going to push him as well. He knows that he's got the DPM to deal with the 113 if he has to. Kong Bai in the mouse, like, what's Party really going to do here?
He can't do anything.
He can't even really, like, he can pen him from the front, but it's just so difficult in a TVP, and the end principal will take him down. This has just looked like a nothing round, really, from Team Efficiency.
Yep.
They've not even been in this one at all. And EL Gaming, like, they just had that perfect read that they had to push in at that exact time, and it works out so, so well for them.
Yep, exactly. So, well played there by EL Gaming. And Team Efficiency going to be going down 2-0 on Muravanka there after a very solid push. And look, EL have been known to do that on the defensive side many times before, so I'm just a little bit confused as to why Team Efficiency would let them. It's not a surprise to see EL Gaming bat chats pushing from the defensive side onto the flag. Like, what did Team Efficiency think would happen?
I don't know, maybe they thought that they could get their heavies there in time to be able to at least have an impact on that fight, but clearly it wasn't the case, and EL Gaming so decisive on the defensive side of Muravanka. They started off poorly on Cliff. It was 0-2 for Team Efficiency, and then now it's 0-2 for EL Gaming on Muravanka, and we're back to 2 apiece, and all of a sudden it's looking like much more of a closer series than what we might have anticipated had Team Efficiency been able to pull off one round here on Muravanka. So, really, really good fight back from EL Gaming. I thought Team Efficiency, they absolutely needed to get one round there because now we're moving over to Prokhorovka. EL Gaming's warmed up. EL Gaming's looking good.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel a little bit dangerous now for Team Efficiency.
I think this is where Team Efficiency need to kind of come back in Prokhorovka here, and they need a 1-1 here. They 100% need a 1-1 on Prokhorovka. Otherwise, I'm ready to ride them off because EL Gaming, if we look at our next map, Ruinberg, and if we go to the tiebreaker, it's Muro.
Yeah.
Which, after seeing how Team Efficiency and EL Gaming played Muravanka just then, I don't really see a way that Team Efficiency could win Muravanka.
Yeah. So they have to basically 2-0 here on Prokhorovka and try and get a round on Ruinberg because I don't think they 2-0 Ruinberg. EL Gaming may 2-0 Ruinberg. Again, it's a difficult task.
Slim, yeah, but there is always the chance. They are EL Gaming, and they're obviously kind of warmed up now. Anyways, that last one on Muravanka, where did it go so wrong? Right here, I think, for Team Efficiency. And EL Gaming just rushed right back over. Simple as you like.
Maybe if Party and his TVP had have been there as well, it would have been a different situation because, to be fair, Team Efficiency actually traded pretty well, given the situation that they were in, but they just didn't have the tanks there that they needed. And as well as they could trade, they were never going to be able to trade favorably. And that's the problem.
Can I just give a shout out to Nice there in his AMX 1390, who's dealt 1,700 damage in that one and beat every Team Efficiency member on the scoreboard, because that is pretty impressive in my book.
Also 3 kills.
Also 3 kills, exactly. So good on you, Nice. You're doing work, but yeah, the mouse Kong Bai did end up doing work there, 2.4k damage, quiet. That's how you play an STB one, 2.6 thousand damage. Really good stuff from EL Gaming.
And there's nothing much to say for that for team efficiency. Again, it's just a woeful looking scorecard for them.
That's not great.
It's not even really any better than what they had on the first half of Muravanka. So two very, very comprehensive victories for EL Gaming. I thought at least in the first half, team efficiency looked like they were in with a chance, but that one certainly they just didn't look like they were in it at all. And so EL Gaming, they're going to be riding on a wave of momentum now coming into Prokhorovka. And I have to say, I'm a little bit worried here for team efficiency, but that's not to say that they can't bring it back on Prokhorovka, because Prokhorovka, it is a map that has been good in the past for team efficiency, quite good in the past as well for EL, but we have seen EL falter occasionally on Prokhorovka.
We have, and it's a map that I definitely favour team efficiency on because of that. TE, they are good at these sort of slightly more open maps where they have to adapt a little bit in their play style. EL Gaming, recently on Prokhorovka, they have looked to struggle a little bit. Occasionally they go with the Artie here, and that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Team efficiency, they're very good at playing at putting their heavy tankers on the railroad in proc. So expect to see JT, expect to see Bohan, you know, in the 113s or, you know, IS 4-7.
Seven. It'll be a 7 here on Prokhorovka. I don't think we're likely to see a IS4. It's usually JT with an IS4 if we see a Ghost Town or Himmelsdorf maybe, but the turret armor is just too good to go past for an IS7 on Prokhorovka, I think. And Bohan is a very, very good IS7 player as well. Yeah.
So, look, that's what I'm expecting from team efficiency here. And I think that if EL Gaming go for that 2-flag push, in my eyes, that's what team efficiency are the best at defending. So, if we do see team efficiency start off on the defense here, you know, EL Gaming need to watch out if they want to go for the 2-flag, because TE have really got some confidence around that area of the map. And maybe if you're EL Gaming, you do try something a little bit different this time. Do try a 1-2 line push, which, you know, EL Gaming can do. It's a bit of a YOLO push in some ways, but EL Gaming can do that.
Definitely, especially if you have the right kind of a setup. It depends on what tanks we see coming out here from EL Gaming. We know they've been sort of dabbling with the artillery every now and then, a little bit. In last week, Fox TS was taking away the M40-43, the M50 as well. So I think that, like, the tier 9, the tier 8 and the tier 9s, something that Fox TS is quite happy to just jump into. It doesn't necessarily need to be either or whichever one. He doesn't have a preference, it seems. But it's definitely that line as opposed to the Lorraine line, which is maybe not seeming like his kind of a style. But something that we might actually see here on Prokhorovka, because a lot of the times that we've seen Prokhorovka coming out on this new patch, there's been a lot of mouses, and Yardi counters the mouse. Not this time though for EL Gaming, but Team Efficiency do have an artillery on the defense. It's a Lorraine, and it'll be Skell in that one. Actually an IS4 as opposed to an IS7 for Team Efficiency here. So
there you go.
Did think it was going to be the IS7, but there comes the IS4. A couple of bat-chats as well. STRV. So this to me is quite a defensive setup really from Team Efficiency.
Very defensive.
They won't be very mobile. They're going to be sitting in their positions, and they're going to be waiting for EL Gaming.
Yeah, this is interesting because, I mean, the setup from Team Efficiency, it kind of tells me that Team Efficiency were expecting to run into a few maybe mouses here. But EL Gaming, they're not giving that to them. They're going with those slightly faster heavy tanks, you know, the 113 Chinese tier 10 heavy tank that plays a lot like a medium instead. And the 2 T10s, which again, not slow tanks for heavies. And it's looking like EL Gaming. This is good as well. 1-2 flag push. If they can make this work nice and early on, and you know, get into it before Team Efficiency have a chance to settle down and you know, bunker down on the defensive side, that could really work out well for them.
Yeah, but I think Team Efficiency have had enough time now really to bunker down. Like, they just basically need to sit on this A line. They've got 2 Mausers, so that's a lot of damage that they can soak up with those tanks. They just need to allow Skell and allow whoever's in the STRV there, JT, to just pump out damage every time that EL Gaming tries to peek in here. And it does look like EL Gaming is going to try and force the issue. That's a good shot onto Skell. Damages his ammo rack, and he does have a repair kit here, but he's opted... Okay, there we go. He's opted to use it. I was going to wonder why he hadn't used it just yet, but EL Gaming, they've taken a lot of damage on this push. Team Efficiency nicely set up, and now all they need to do is convert this into a win.
Yep, there we go. So EL Gaming taking so much damage right now. Kongbai, he's been dropped down to 650. Granovsky, though, is starting to take some damage. And now that Bohan is kind of getting flanked a little bit, he's starting to struggle as well. Who will be the first tank that goes down, though?
Yeah, Bohan's not looking too healthy. In the end, it's actually JT and the SDRV to go down first. So EL Gaming have done a really, really good job of actually just juggling that aggro. Skell goes down now as well, and we need to see a couple of these EL Gaming tanks fall if Team Efficiency are to come back into this one, because right now, EL Gaming are at a 2-tank advantage.
Yeah, what's this from Team Efficiency? They need to take these tanks down. The focus fire's just not been there in this little push. You need to at least get quiet down to have a chance in this one, but obviously it's a big struggle here for Team Efficiency. Party's now starting to take some free damage, and can he get Kong by?
Yep, if he can. He might be able to take down Fox TS here as well. Fox is a one-shot, but the thing that he needs to do is basically survive right now, which is not going to be so easy, and Fox TS does connect the shot onto Safi. Mortho does take down Fox TS, but he himself will be traded out by Black, and overall, it's looking like another EL Gaming round coming up.
Yeah, there we go. Granovsky here, and he might be able to... maybe? No. Looks like he'll take one shot from Black. I was about to say he might be able to take him down without taking damage himself, but that's not to be the case. And now it's a 3v1. There's no way that Granovsky with a damage gun and no health can win this. So just like that, EL Gaming take that first one up proc and start to build up a little bit of momentum.
Definitely.
3-game win streak.
3 in a row. And again, another round where Team Efficiency start off well, but they're not able to convert that lead that they have.
Yeah. Oh, that's so disappointing. And, you know, Team Efficiency there, it's kind of like I think that is their weakest sort of area on the map, that 1-2 line. They never usually set up to defend it, and if you've got an RD on your team, obviously you don't want the enemy players pushing down the same line to the same point that your RD is. So the Lorraine for Team Efficiency side probably didn't make much of an impact for them either, which may have been a bit of an issue, but yeah, at the end of the day, EL Gaming just with a really nice bit of aggro juggling, like you said, that's enough to win it sometimes.
I think for a lot of that fight there, Party wasn't really involved. I'm pretty sure he was the one in the mouse that was over towards the rail track, which it took him so long to actually get into the fight that by that stage it was kind of already over. Even Safi wasn't 100% really in the fight there. So there was a lot of tanks maybe for Team Efficiency that were still on the rotate when EL Gaming was actually pushing in there, taking down JT in the STRV and taking down Skell in that Lorraine. So the setup for Team Efficiency, I did like it. It started off nicely, but they just didn't get that rotate across quick enough.
Yeah, simple as that there for Team Efficiency. So, well, 3-2 to EL Gaming right now. They take the lead in the series, and they are looking really good on Prokhorovka very kind of suddenly, I guess. So, in this next half, I think Team Efficiency on the attack, I mean, it's going to be tricky for them.
Yeah, let's have a look at the post-battle stats here. And Safi did a bit in the mouse. Kronovsky did a fairly decent amount of damage, and so did JT, but nothing else really up there for Team Efficiency. And it's just looking, again, like what we saw on Muravanka. There's just no one from Team Efficiency that's been able to do enough damage.
Yeah, simple as that. Quiet there in the S-Tank, 3.3k damage. Very impressive. JT in his S-Tank, he just dropped a little bit too early on, 7 shots fired, 1900 damage. It's all well and good, but JT needed to be staying up for a little bit longer. And Safi there in that mouse, 17-10. He's done all right, but those T10s for EL Gaming, can I just give them a shout out? Because 3 and 6, they have really done work in this one.
Well, they're really, really good actually against a mouse. You can pretty easily pen the mouse frontally in a T10. It's quite quick around the map as well. You can face hug a mouse, right? So it's actually a really good pick when you're expecting to go up against a mouse. And so I think that's part of the reason why EL Gaming have decided to go for that. Also works pretty well against the artillery, because it's a little harder to hit than a mouse, and obviously it's a bit quicker, so it can move around, change its position. I like those 2 T10 picks really from EL Gaming, and as you said, they've worked out quite nicely. What hasn't worked out really, Bohan's IS-4, or whoever's in the IS-4, the mouse is really for Team Efficiency. I don't think we're hugely effective either. They just weren't in the positions to be able to sort of tank for the other teammates.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the issue with the IS-4 as well. Like, I did originally kind of maybe expect them to pick it, but then when they pick it and play it on that 1-2 line, like, it's all well and good until those Batchats rushed it, because as soon as those Batchats rush the IS-4, it just becomes so much less effective. The armor's nothing, and it can pretty easily get overwhelmed. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like an IS-7, it's slightly less susceptible to rushing. I don't know why I feel that, but whether it's a slightly better armor or... Yeah, but definitely didn't work out too well.
Clearly.
For in that one.
Clearly.
So.
Some sort of, I think team efficiency here just needs to, they need to take a step back and really slow things down a little bit, because the way that things have been going, EO Gaming has been able to force fights in these last 3 matches very, very quickly, right? So on Muravanka, the first one we saw, basically they just had that initial fight where they lost it early on, but they were able to just come back, get the trades with the bat chats while team efficiency was reloading. Second round of Muravanka, well, we all know what happened. EO Gaming just come in, get the resets, kill those 3 bat chats. And again, they're on Prokhorovka. They sort of start a fight really early on in the piece.
Yep.
And I think that's been favouring EO Gaming here. When they can get those early fights going on, it's sort of like vintage EO Gaming, really.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Getting the early
Exactly.
fight, getting their opponent under pressure early on, and taking advantage of that. And I think team efficiency, if they can slow things down here on their attacking side of Prokhorovka, just play the map a little bit more, rotate around a lot more, maybe that's going to be a little bit more useful for them. So we'll see what they do decide to go for, and it is going to be a fairly interesting setup, actually. Triple 113,
yeah,
STRV, and a Grill 15. So I am expecting somewhat of a slower play style here, actually.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's why they picked that grill on the attack, you know, to kind of take things maybe a little bit slower, and the S-Tank. I'm just wondering what to think of these 3 113s here for team efficiency. I mean, obviously it's a lot of HP. You know, those team efficiency guys, they'll ding a couple of shells, not that many from them, but you know, are they going to be going for a bit of a 1-2 line push? Are they going to be going to the hill on the east? I'm not sure.
At the moment, it looks like the Grill 15 here is just set up to potentially shoot a scout that may pop up on that middle ridge from EO Gaming, but he's not going to get a shot across by the looks of things. Team efficiency not really getting too many spots there, or none that can be shot at. SGRV posted on the 1-2 line as well. So it probably is going to be a push down this 1-2 line from team efficiency. With those 113s, I can see that making sense. You know, they are quite quick, heavy tanks.
Yep.
You are going to ding maybe 1 or 2 shells from the front there as well. Oh, but Moore needs to be careful here. Principal, though, he takes a big chunk of damage. Dropped very, very low. His fire extinguisher is gone now as well, but Granovsky does take a bit of damage on the trade, and I think Moore's dead here. He doesn't have any backup. And again, team efficiency are going to lose a tank early on in the piece. Moore hasn't even really done any damage there before he's gone down. I think he got 1 shot into Nice, and that's about it. So they know Granovsky's low as well. I'm pretty sure EO Gaming is just going to try and push this advantage and wreck team efficiency straight off the bat.
Yeah, not ideal there at all from team efficiency. But look at this, the S-Tank actually potentially a little bit of trouble. Hardliner is there, though, to kind of help out. And
yeah,
another
that's game
kill.
over.
Another kill on the Grill 15, like team efficiency. They're just not ready for these pushes from EO Gaming, even though EO Gaming have done them in every single one of the last, you know, 4 games now. So how did team efficiency... I don't know, it's frustrating to watch, Jordan, because they know that EO Gaming are capable of doing these pushes, and suddenly it's a 7v5. Team efficiency are down 2 tier 10s.
Yep.
Like, it's so hard for them to come back into this.
It's impossible for them to come back into this. As long as EO Gaming plays it correctly, team efficiency won't have the damage to trade out effectively. They don't have the HP to play with either. And I mean, EO Gaming is playing this one fine. Like, they're just pushing in here and taking out the isolated tanks from team efficiency. So far, we've not even really seen a team fight. We've just seen picks coming out from EO Gaming. This is the real first kind of brawl, and of course it goes the way of EO Gaming because team efficiency have already lost so many tanks there. JT in the STRV, he's not going to be able to do anything here. Maybe get a bit of damage out, but in reality, it's much of a muchness at this point. It's the game over already.
Yep, there we go. JT maybe is going to be able to take out Principal, but I mean the S-Tank, it is a funny looking tank. It is a good tank, but it's not quite good enough to take down 7 or 6 members of EO Gaming all by itself. No. Even with a man as skilled as JT at the helm, who's actually having good luck ricocheting lots of shots in that one.
Yeah, it can only last for so long here. I mean, there are a lot of low HP tanks for EO Gaming, and the SDRV, it does reload pretty quickly, but it's probably just a little bit too much beyond JT at this point. If he had have had one more person alive with him here, look at how low those EO Gaming tanks are. It was a salvageable situation for team efficiency, but they just lost too much early. More going down without doing barely any damage. Granovsky, I think it was in the Grill 15, or whoever was in the Grill 15, they went down really after firing 1, maybe 2 shots off, and that was 2 tanks essentially off the field straight away for team
Almost
efficiency.
For free.
And as I said before the game, and as you mentioned in the middle of that game, Team Efficiency, they need to be able to slow this down here because EL Gaming is just walking all over them early on in the rounds, and it just doesn't feel like Team Efficiency is ready for it.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work for them at all. And Team Efficiency, they're not ready for it because if they, like, they're not even expecting it. Right, Team Efficiency, I don't know what's going in their comms right now, or what their strategies are coming into this, but to me, this looks like some sort of pre-planned, you know, weeks in advance. Oh yeah, guys, I've got this, you know, super intricate, detailed strategy for us to do on Prokhorovka attack strategy. This doesn't look like Team Efficiency actually adapting to who they're playing. You know, I don't want to see Team Efficiency, you know, split their forces and have some really tricky Guild 15 looking down a specific line and then a bat chat on a hill until a certain time. Like, I want to see Team Efficiency reacting here to what EL Gaming are doing. Grouping up, staying together, being ready for an early push, and maybe even pushing in early themselves, you know, rather than doing what they're doing right now, which just isn't working.
Yeah, definitely not, and that's going to be evidence once again here. JT, the only one to do any real significant damage for Team Efficiency, and a lot of that was basically after everyone was dead anyway.
Yep, exactly. So Safi there in the 113, 1800 damage wasn't too bad, but, well, quiet in his S-tank there on the Prokhorovka defense, dealing 3.2k damage, pretty nice. Kong by the bat chat, not doing too badly. Fox DS as well in that TVP. You put Fox DS in a TVP, he won't usually disappoint.
No, definitely not. And, well, on the second side, yeah, Moore only got one shot off. Party only got one shot off. Scale got two. But, again, it's just not going the way that Team Efficiency would have wanted tonight. And, yeah, like, I know that they're already qualified, so maybe this doesn't mean the biggest of deals to them, but I really thought that coming into this, like, this match, for sure, you know, any other Team Efficiency would be facing, I could be like, whatever, right? But against EL Gaming, the team that you've beaten twice, the team that no one else has been able to beat, they would have wanted to come into this one 100% and try and take down EL Gaming. And if that's the case, if they have come into this one 100%, not trying new strategies, not messing around with anything, not trying new maps in preparation for the final, this is not the way they would have wanted it to turn out.
Yep.
You can maybe make the excuse if they're changing their map pool up a little bit just to practice things here against EL Gaming for those best of 13s maybe in the final if they do meet EL Gaming. But, I don't know. It's just not working the way Team Efficiency would want. Either way, yeah, not good.
Not good. No, it started off so well this series. You know, it started off super close, super intense, but Team Efficiency here really dropping the ball a little bit, and I don't know really what else we can say, because that was Prokhorovka. We're on to Ruinberg next. We know that EL Gaming are a very strong Ruinberg team, and I'm sure, I've got no doubt that after their last few losses on Ruinberg, where, you know, recently they have dropped 1 or 2 to the Dark Wolves, they've dropped, you know, they've generally dropped a few halves on Ruinberg. I think that this is where we're going to see full strength EL Gaming on Ruinberg. No doubt they'll have gone back, they'll have practiced it, you know, they've really knuckled down this week to get their Ruinberg game up. That's why it's in the map pool here. That's why they've you know, ended up picking it.
I would be incredibly surprised to see Team Efficiency come back with the 2-0 here and push it through to a tiebreaker. I just don't think it happens. I think a 1-1 is very, very expected, even. Like, but a 2-0 for Team Efficiency right now, given the last performance from them against EL Gaming on this map, given, you know, some of the troubles that they have had on this map every now and then, I just think it's a little bit far-fetched to think that they're going to be able to 2-0 this. And even for EL Gaming to 2-0 this, it would be a pretty big achievement. Obviously, they don't need to 2-0 it because they only need 1 here.
Yep.
But we're going to find out how it is going to turn out because we're going to get into the tank picks. Double batch at AP here for Team Efficiency, a 50B as well, and a couple of Mausers. So it's nothing hugely surprising across the board for either of these teams. And I think that's, you know, that's the problem really for Team Efficiency here, isn't it? Because they're on the attack. Ruinberg naturally favoring the defensive side. They've gone pretty standard.
The things that work against EL is not standard. You know, we've seen some different stuff really work against them, and you're right that it is the problem that Team Efficiency are going standard here, because that's, you know, it's just not very often the kind of kryptonite to EL Gaming's playstyle. But I'm going to give it a crack anyways, and I mean, there's a reason some things are standard, because they do generally work and are quite effective, so Team Efficiency, it's not write them off just yet. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of those two Batchat APs from Skell and Moore. I think, you know, in this map where you know you're going to run into a couple of Mousers, like, just pick a tier 10 Batchat and a light or, you know, some bigger tier 9 tanks.
Well, a bit of a quicker strategy from Team Efficiency, which I don't mind. Although I have been saying they should probably slow it down, so we'll see how this works for Team Efficiency. But they have taken good control over towards that 2 flag. Skell kind of up in the town now as well. It is a decent setup here for Team Efficiency. Wargaming have reacted well though. They haven't sacrificed any HP. They haven't dilly-dallied around up in that town trying to take a brawl, trying to take some fights which maybe would be less than favorable. They've started to rotate around through the town, and now Team Efficiency, I don't know if they're going to be aware of this, and if they are, what are they even going to be able to do about it? Because there's 3 tanks essentially trapped in that middle road with a bunch of 50Bs and Batchats and what have you coming around behind them. It's game over. Granovski's dead already.
Yep, that is terrible news there from Team Efficiency, and unless their Batchats can make something happen on the town, which it doesn't look like they can, it's looking like Team Efficiency here, they're just going to fall down and almost capitulate to Wargaming. Nice going down though.
We've just seen a kill go the way of Team Efficiency, and this is kind of like their last chance. So now maybe not be too bad of a time to jump in their team speak and see how they're going about this one.
On the right, are you?
Yeah.
Whether I finish, are you?
I'll cover you from Convoy.
One reload.
Just run away.
20 more seconds.
They have a
Convoy,
50B
Convoy.
on 0 line. There's a
We need
50B
to
on
finish
0
Convoy.
line.
What's 0 line? Our side or their side?
Their side. Their side.
Can you spot him?
He's at B0.
Yep.
Quiet is up.
And he's loaded. Can anyone else shoot quiet? Because I'm just gonna die.
Can
to a high
Batchat go
roll.
for?
Really?
Well, things are not looking too good here for Team Efficiency. There was maybe a little bit of a chance in that mid-game if they had been able to pull off something, but I think this is too far gone now. 3 versus 4, even though Kongbai is a one-shot. We've seen how many shells he's bounced already. Hardliner's got a full amount of HP. Fox TS almost full, and 250Bs to deal with as well for Team Efficiency. I just think it's too much. And yeah, this is going to be basically the most comprehensive victory we've seen between these two teams. The only one that Wargaming will actually pick up. It has been 5-4, 5-4 in the favor of Team Efficiency the last 2 times they've met, but this time 5-2 for Wargaming, and I think that that's going to be a really good sort of feeling for them heading into the finals.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what they would have wanted. Very convincing 5-2 as well. Those first 2, you know, yes, Team Efficiency did look pretty strong there on Cliff, but apart from that, really, that was smooth sailing from Wargaming. They never really looked at like they had an issue in those last 5 games, which they just swept through.
Yeah, it didn't look like the same Team Efficiency that we've seen the last couple of times that they have gone up against Wargaming. I think a lot of that is going to come down to the map pool there as well. Honestly, those maps for me are not the best maps that Team Efficiency could have gotten on tonight. If we'd have seen Ghost Town, maybe Himmelsdorf as well, and Cliff there, of course, was already in the map pool. But those 3 maps, those are the key ones, I think, for me, for Team Efficiency. And only one of them come out tonight. Muravanka, I definitely thought that Wargaming was going to be a better team on that one, and even Ruinberg. So overall, map pool didn't work out for Team Efficiency. They didn't look like they were really on tonight, to be honest, either. And obviously, like, it's not that big of a deal for them, given that they've already qualified. Wargaming's already qualified. This essentially means nothing in terms of the standings. It's all just down to pride. And Wargaming have at least been able to pull that back just a little bit.
Yeah. So, look, at the end of the day, Wargaming, they've got to be happy with that. It means that they don't walk away from this season, you know, having lost every game in the regular season to Team Efficiency. They're going to walk into the Season 2 finals in Taipei with a pretty good kind of spring in their step, I think. Yep. So that's definitely something they can look forward to. They're playing against Team Efficiency, and I know I'm definitely looking forward to it. Jordan, should be an amazing event. The finals, of course, just in the last week we've announced it will be held at the Eco Arc Taipei. So very cool green centre there, made out of millions of recycled plastic bottles.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
Should be pretty cool. Will be very, very cool to see as well how these teams fight each other at the finals, because, you know, we don't even know which teams are actually going to be going through to the finals. Playoffs still yet to come, but this was the play really from Wargaming. I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for Team Efficiency. They just took down those tanks in mid, or not necessarily took them down, but took so much damage into them as well. So overall, it's been a disappointing night for Team Efficiency, that's for sure.
Yeah. Has not been great for them. So we can see Hardliner at the top 113. Kong behind the mouse, 3.4k damage. I mean, Hardliner actually, like, almost skipped over him, but 5k damage in the 113. That is very, very impressive. You know, those AMX 50Bs, can't fault them. Look, more on skill in the batch at APs. I did talk kind of slightly lowly of them for picking those tanks, but they've made them work in the end with 2k damage and 1800 damage respectively, I think.
Yep. And on the second side of the scoreboard, well, Gronowski doing nothing, Bohan doing just a little bit more than nothing, but
yeah,
not really anything to talk about.
It's rare that you see Bohan, you know, having a super potato game in his mouse. Or in any heavy tank.
Mm. Oh well, all in all there for Team Efficiency, it obviously boils down to a loss, the Wargaming picking up the win. Not really much to say about it, like, it doesn't matter for either of these teams.
At the end of the day, it doesn't. Yeah, I was really hoping for another, you know, Wargaming T tiebreaker.
Yeah, I was keen.
Extravaganza, Royale, Supreme. But no, we got like a cheese pizza. Yeah. Team Efficiency EL matchup. Anyways, JT there. Managing to get on the scoreboard for his team, 1857. That's going to knock his damage, average damage down a little bit though.
Yep. Everyone on Team Efficiency going to be taking a bit of a hit from this matchup. Wargaming, not too bad. I think Quiet, Fox DS, Hardliner, Kong Bai, that's all pretty good scores. Blacks, again, not too bad there either. So all those guys having a really, really good night.
Yep. Yeah, lots of those Wargaming players just looking super strong. And yeah, that is very much reflected on the scoreboard. I think well, Bohani did manage to get 5 kills at least, for what that's worth, which is probably not too much. Party fired 52 shots, only got 1300 average damage out though. 3 kills. And Skell, well, at least he can walk away with this one, saying that he dealt more average damage than nice.
Maybe a small consolation prize.
Small consolation. The wooden spoon
Definitely.
of this matchup, I feel.
Definitely was the wooden spoon there. So Wargaming, they're going to walk away from that quite happy. Obviously, they get 3 points. They put themselves even further out of reach of everyone. I think at this point, they were 9 points ahead of Team Efficiency, which is uncatchable because Team Efficiency would have had only 2 more games, which was this one and the one tomorrow. 6 points total if they had have won. So Wargaming was secure up in number 1. Team Efficiency already secure in number 2. It is what it is, but a little bit more of a point on the board there for Wargaming. Can't complain about it.
Look,
I mean, it just goes to show again how much stronger than they are.
It makes their end of season stats look just that little bit better as well, you know, and it's very impressive. They've only really lost in 2 tiebreakers. They haven't actually lost, not in a tiebreaker this season.
Correct.
So coming into the finals here, the WGL APAC Season 2 finals, they're definitely going to be looking strong. And I think after that performance, that was the only real question mark for me. You know, is can they beat Team Efficiency this season? I think that's just been answered as yes.
Yep.
So, there we go.
Good night there from Wargaming. They're going to be pleased with how that one has turned out. Pretty quick one, actually, generally for us as well. 5-2 in the favour of Wargaming, if anyone just tuned in. But for now, we are going to head to a quick break. We'll be back in 10 minutes with Karen Tiger and Coalition Zoo.
People have always admired enormous constructions. Grandiose structures made by ingenious engineers. In the 19th century, the world saw buildings that still capture us to this day.